Rome is one of the most historically rich cities in the world. It contains some of the greatest buildings from the height of the Roman Empire, like the Roman Forum and Palatine Hill's stunning palace. Some of the best artwork and sculpture from the Renaissance period, by artists like Michelangelo, Bernini, Raphael, and Borromini, and incredible architectural marvels like the Pantheon, the Colosseum, and the aqueducts. But it's not all history, beauty, and art. Rome certainly has a darker side, a creepier side, and absolutely a ghoulish side. Tonight we explore the ghosts of the Eternal City and the sights that they're supposed to haunt. Come join us, won't you? One of Rome's most famous and most tragic ghost stories is that of the young noblewoman Beatrice Cenci. Beatrice was born on the 5th of February 1577 to Count Francesco Cenci and Ursula Santa Croce. However, Ursula passed away when Beatrice was only 7 years old, and the Count was remarried to another noblewoman in Lucrezia Petroni. The Count was an abusive and aggressive man, and according to some sources, he beat his first wife and sons, and it's also believed that he raped Beatrice repeatedly. Francesco was eventually jailed for other crimes, but owing to the leniency with which nobles were treated, it wasn't long before he was freed and returned to living with his family. Although everyone in Rome seemingly knew the kind of man Beatrice's father was, nothing was done about his abuse, even after she had tried reporting her father. Once Francesco had discovered that his daughter had attempted to report him, he sent both his little girl and his wife Lucrezia away from the family home to live in their country castle deep in the Abruzzi mountains. Knowing that they would receive no help from without, the Cenci family decided to deal with this tyrant by murdering him as he stayed in the country castle. Beatrice was helped by two vassals, one of them her lover, her stepmother, and siblings, and they attempted to drug her father in order to kill him. This failed, however, and the family were forced to bludgeon Count Cenci to death with a hammer and throw his corpse off the balcony in order to make it look like an accident. This was, however, never entertained as even being close to the truth by their fellow Romans, as the plot to murder the Count was eventually discovered, mainly due to the fact that he had been absent for quite some time, and the four Cencis were arrested, found guilty, and sentenced to death. On September 11th, 1599, they were taken to Castel San Angelo Bridge to be executed. Beatrice's brother Giacomo was viciously tortured on the way to the execution, with his head being crushed by a mallet, before being quartered in front of his family. Next, Lucrezia and Beatrice in turn were decapitated via axe on the bridge, with only the youngest, Bernardo, being spared this fate, but instead being forced to watch these gruesome spectacles as his family were massacred. Ever since that fateful day, it is believed that the ghost of Beatrice walks the Castel San Angelo Bridge every year on the night before her anniversary of her death. She is often described as pale or translucent, and carrying her head under her arm as it drips with blood onto the cobblestones below her. It is considered to be an omen of your impending death to see her on that bridge, and something that terrifies most Romans. Is it any wonder her spirit can't rest considering her life? Tragic abuse, rape, and cruel murder? How do you think you'd rest if it were you? Of all the emperors Rome has gone through, from Augustus to Zenobia, there is always a lot of debate over who was the greatest amongst them. More so over, who was the worst of them? In my opinion, it was none other than the vanity-stricken, violent, and egotistical lunatic, Emperor Nero. Nero was crowned emperor in October 54 AD. His early reign was dominated by his mother, Agrippia the Younger, who is often cited in the death of Nero's predecessor and adoptive father, Claudius. 5 years into his reign, he cast his mother away, wishing to be free from her controlling ways, and eventually decided that the only way to be truly free of her was to have her murdered in cold blood. The official reason given for this murder was that Nero believed she was planning on killing him instead. Not only was he guilty of the death of his own mother, but he was also his wife Octavia, daughter of the previous emperor Claudius. It is said that the marriage between the two was not a happy one. Many believe that the legitimacy of the claim to the title of emperor did not come from being the adoptive son of Claudius, but actually due to his marriage to Claudius's daughter. By 62 AD, he had divorced Octavia on the grounds of not being able to produce a child, but not before it is speculated that Nero had made several attempts to strangle her. She was soon charged with adultery, a completely false and unfounded claim, and executed. Nero's second wife, Poppaea, fared little better. Nero married her in 63 AD, while she was already pregnant. Sadly, the infant died only 3 months after being born, and it's said that Nero took it quite hard, even having his daughter deified. Poppaea died while carrying the couple's second child, and it is often said that she died from a kick to the stomach delivered by Nero himself. He is also said to have held concerts where he would play his violin. By all accounts, he was a terrible violinist, but would insist on a standing ovation, and in fact, it is oftentimes said that whoever would stop clapping first would be executed on the spot. Nero's most famous crime, however, also involves his violin, but it is also the most likely to be untrue. It is claimed that while the beautiful city of Rome burnt, it was Nero's own hand that lit the blaze. Often it is said that he was seen fiddling while Rome burnt. Whether he is guilty or not is unknown, but it is known that Nero took full advantage of the fire's destruction to build his golden palace, which is said to have contained a 120-foot high column that contained a statue of himself. By 64 AD, the city of Rome, his closest advisors, and even his own private guard had turned on the emperor, and Nero took his own life the day after the Praetorian Guard renounced their protection of him, and is quoted as saying, "What an artist dies in me." Nero's ghost is now said to haunt the area between Piazza del Popolo, where his tomb is said to have been located. One legend says that a wicked tree grew from his tomb, and now Nero can't rest until the tree has been destroyed. Whatever the reason, it seems that one of ancient Rome's most vicious emperors will continue to wander and can know no rest. But maybe that's what he deserves. Greed can be the downfall of anyone, and the desire to climb the social ladder can be anyone's undoing. If you don't believe me, just ask Donna Olympia Pamphili. Olympia had always believed she was destined for greater things. Coming from a modestly wealthy family, her father decided that instead of being married, she would enter the religious life. She refused, and instead married Paolo Nini, the richest man in Viterbo, her hometown. They had 2 children together, both of whom sadly died in infancy, and Nini himself passed away quite young in 1611. Her second marriage was to Pamphilo Pamphili, elder brother to Cardinal Giambattista Pamphili, who would eventually go on to become Pope Innocenzo X. The two had a son together, and Donna Olympia enjoyed some time as the matriarch of the Pamphili family. Tragedy struck again, however, and her second husband also died. This time, however, Donna chose not to remarry, instead electing to remain single. It was during this time that it is said that she gained great influence over her brother-in-law, Pope Innocenzo X. Innocenzo's health started to deteriorate around his 80th birthday in 1654. By this point, Donna Olympia rarely left the Pope's side, controlling all those who could have access to him and all the money and power she could wield through him. In the last weeks of his life, she would lock the Pope inside his own chamber once a week and remove valuables from the papal palace to her own. By December 26, 1654, his family was summoned to his bedside in order to say their last goodbyes. Conspicuous by her absence was Donna Olympia, as she had fled Rome with 2 trunks of gold several hours before in a bid to escape with her ill-gotten gains. She never again returned to Rome and died 2 years later, apparently after contracting the plague. The visage of Donna Pamphili is said to be seen around the Piazza Navona area, dressed all in black and clinging to her crates of gold, still riding her black carriage pulled by 4 black horses, some even saying that she rides across the Ponte Sisto Bridge and up over the Gianicolo Hill, escaping the city up into Villa Pamphili, where she would disappear to the sound of her own menacing laughter. Greed was always her defining trait, and now it's her punishment, as she is now doomed to repeat her mad dash for freedom over and over and over again for all eternity. A fitting punishment, perhaps. It's easy to forget while in Rome, surrounded by the beautiful travertine marble, incredible artwork, wonderful food, and amazing culture, that it's built on the bones of the people of the empire slaughtered, the slaves that were forced to build it, and the murders that have been committed there in order to keep control, gain power, or to force obedience. Living in Rome myself, I'm biased, as I will always see its beauty first, but it's always good to remind myself about its darker, more evil side. I picked these 3 ghosts as I found them the most personally fascinating, but there are many, many more here in Rome. Whatever side of the Eternal City you'd like to see, I'd suggest you visit, as it will always be worth your time. Then you can see for yourself that it's grim, and it's ghoulish. Buonanotte, ragazzi.